Hello and welcome back to the Villa Filler podcast. It is a solo one today, and that is totally my fault. Dan was at the game yesterday. He got back. He was in good time to record with me. The only problem, I ended up going out for a few beers and everything like that. And so he's now a busy man. Obviously, it's a big day of football today. I'm currently recording at half time of the League Cup final, which means Dan is absolutely swamped with work. So with a slightly hoarse voice and with a slightly sore head, I'm back to run you through yesterday's game on my own, unfortunately. But to be honest with you guys, it's a game where I found it very difficult to interpret this game, and the XG really reflects this because during the first half, particularly, I felt we were I don't say really poor. I think that's a little bit harsh, but it was definitely difficult for Villa to put those passages of play together that we like to. We really struggled to at points get out of our own half, and it gave this feeling that the halftime came at a really good time for Villa. The XG comes in. I've got it just in front of me now. Comes in. Everton actually had a bigger XG than we did. Their expected goals was in at 1.74 to our 1.71. And so I don't think, again, it was a particularly great performance from Villa, but we have this amazing ability under Unai Emery to win games that we wouldn't have won under previous managers. Definitely not under Gerrard. I said this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago that I think maybe Spurs away and I think maybe United at home. And I think what was Unai's first game in charge. And the only games where I've really come away feeling not only convinced by Villa win, but convinced by a performance that we actually played well. And I actually think Arsenal last week might have been one of those better performances as well. But obviously we came out on the losing side. But you got to run. You got to walk before you can run. Sorry, we can't expect too much of Unai. But what he's done with this side to turn us into a team that are comfortable going away from home and picking up points is really quite impressive. And it was refreshing to hear him talk in his post match and say that we need to now bring that back to Villa Park and make it a fortress, make it a place where teams don't want to come to, because that's the problem. The away form has been great under Unai, but the home form hasn't. And now we go into a run of games where we can really pick up some points. And obviously it was difficult. We'd lost 3 in a row going into the Everton game. Unai had never lost 4 in a row in his entire managerial career. So there was a lot riding on this game for him personally as well. But we came into this, we looked at Man City, Arsenal, and Everton as 3 really tough games. And obviously we weren't expecting to lose the Leicester one before that, but obviously we did. And now we look at a run of games. I think you can maybe look at Villa's next 5, maybe 6, where we can conceivably pick up. You can look at all of those games, and it's possible that Villa can go and win all of them. Now, obviously, we won't, but they are all very winnable games. We've got Crystal Palace at home. We then go to West Ham away, Bournemouth at home, Chelsea away, which sounds more daunting than it is. Obviously, they're in a really bad spot right now. They lost to Spurs today. They lost to Southampton at Stamford Bridge just last week, which shows how plausible it is that we can go there and win. And obviously that game is in April. So there's a lot of time between that, a lot of, 3 games between now and then, and an international break for them to start to put themselves together, for Graham Potter to finally have that influence on the training pitch. But that is a winnable game. We then go to the King Power to Leicester, and hopefully we can get some revenge for when they beat us 4-2 at Villa Park. And then we go to Nottingham. We got Nottingham Forest at home, sorry. So there, you're looking at that, and obviously we've then got Newcastle away after that, but then there's Brentford, and you suddenly start to look at it and go, Villa are currently sat 11th in the table. We are just level on goal difference with Chelsea. Level on points. It's goal difference that's letting us down. They're -2 to our -8. And you start to look at these games and you think that's where Villa can put some points together. But it is in those games where you expect Villa to go and get a result that we do often struggle. And I wasn't really confident going into this Everton game, I can't lie. I thought we'd lost 3 in a row. We conceded more than 3 goals in all of those 3 games, 2 4-2 defeats at home in that time. And I thought the last thing you want after a run of games like that is to go and face not only an Everton side at Goodison Park, which is always difficult, but a Sean Dyche team as well. When you're feeling a little bit fragile, a little bit low on confidence, those are the games you don't want because it just stinks of a banana skin. But I thought Villa really stood up to that test physically. And as I said, we really had to ride out the first half. But as the game opened up, as it became a bit end to end, it became quite transitional in the second half as Everton really pushed on to try and get a goal. We were really clinical on the counter attack, and I felt our midfield was really useful in terms of doing that. This really narrow midfield four that Unai's put together means that we swamp teams when it becomes transitional, because obviously Everton, as our most teams, playing with a three-man midfield to our four, just makes it a no contest. But I mean, look, all of the talk from this game is going to be about Ollie Watkins, and rightly so. The stat that's doing the rounds is it's 5 in a row in the Premier League for Ollie Watkins. That's never been done before by a Villa player in the Premier League. Villa player has actually scored in 5 straight league games previously. That's Paul Rideout. He did it back in the 1980s, I believe. But what a stat for Ollie. And he's really come alive since Danny Ings left. And he's proving a lot of us wrong, myself included. Because, we had that battle between him and Ings. And it was a risk to sell Ings. And I do still think it is, like when you watch Bailey play up front and he's not playing as well as he is. And, God forbid Ollie Watkins picks up an injury, because we are so light in that position now. It all would fall on John Duran to score the goals. But what a run of form that he's in. And when I talk about these winnable games that are coming up, there's no reason why that form can't continue, which is great. John McGinn was man of the match. And it's really interesting because I'm still not convinced about him in that wide right position. I still don't think it's the best for him. I don't feel like he's involved as much, and it was really hard to say that because obviously he sort of technically gets 2 assists if you count the fact that he won the penalty. Obviously he then sets up Emi Buendia. 2 of his last 3 assists for John McGinn have actually been setting up Emi. And I just didn't really feel like John was in the game all that much, and I obviously came away man of the match, and I thought to myself, maybe I just watched it wrong. Maybe I'm not seeing it. But I found a really interesting stat, and it was he actually had the fewest touches in the game out of any outfield player on the pitch with 37, which is not a lot when you're playing in that sort of a midfield position. And that stat kind of backed up what I'm saying. I'm not convinced by him in this wide right position. He's a fantastic player, and I'm glad that it's allowed him to get higher up the pitch and get into those areas which we see him do so well for Scotland, which frustrated us for so long. But obviously a penalty one, 3 dribbles with 100% success rate, 3 long balls, again, 100% accuracy, 5 recoveries and 7 duels won yesterday for McGinn. I don't know what the position is in terms of his longevity in that position. I don't know what Unai's plans are for him in the long run. He's a very difficult player to tie down to a particular position. I still don't really know where he is best, to be honest with you. But if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It was a great assist for Emi. A really nice, well taken goal from Buendia. He loves playing against Everton, it seems, in claret and blue. He scored in each of his last 3 Premier League games against the Toffees now, and it's such a nice finish. The way that he shifts his balance and drags that ball with his right foot before smashing it past Pickford with his left is so good. It's so good. I thought he was unlucky not to start, to be honest with you. But it is what it is. Shame for Phil as well, that he had to miss this game after, scoring against Arsenal. You had to feel for him a little bit there. But Buendia came off the bench and really impacted this game, And it leaves us in a bit of a sticky situation now, because you look at someone like Leon Bailey. He's been substituted 15 times in the league this season. He's been pulled off. That's out of 24 games, which is pretty incredible. He's up there with, this is an incredible stat courtesy of Dale, who does AVFC Stato, you might know that account on Twitter. He runs that. He's also got a YouTube channel now. It's absolutely fantastic. And I'm throwing a quick little plug right now for you guys to go and check that out. It's where I get a lot of my data from for this podcast. And he was saying that 15 substitutions, that amount of times that Leon's been taken off, is up there with some of the highest in Villa's Premier League history. Not many players have been pulled off that many times in a Premier League season for Villa. And it does leave us in a sticky situation with Leon, who I thought, again, was poor yesterday, but he's just so shot on confidence. I think maybe a spell out of the team for a little while could do him some good. We didn't see John Duran either yesterday, but it's lovely to see how happy he is for Ollie Watkins, a strike partner. You know, hopefully he can really learn a lot off Ollie, and he's come in at just the right time to do exactly that, because Ollie is proving all of his doubters wrong at the moment. I thought Tyrone was a really underrated shout for man of the match. I thought he was incredible yesterday. 81% passing accuracy, 75 touches, 52 passes completed, which was the most in the game. 4 accurate long balls. He had that obviously amazing clearance off the line. How he sorted his feet out that quickly to get that cleared, I don't know. I was absolutely sure that was going to land in the back of the net after what would have been a comical own goal after the ball hit Ezri and then loops up over the goal and everything like that. Nightmare. 2 headed clearances, 6 clearances in total, 7 recoveries, 100% of his ground duels won, 100% of his aerial duels won. Absolute rock. That decision to give him an extended contract looks like it's paying dividends already. It's amazing what happens when, and we've seen this with Ollie as well, when you allow a player to feel like a position is theirs, that they're comfortable, that they're not constantly looking over their backs. And it's a really interesting dilemma, isn't it? Because you've got in football where you want competition and you want players jostling for starting spots, and you really want it to feel like a squad rather than just an 11. But I think we've seen in Ollie and now with Tyrone, considering the journey that Tyrone has been on with Steven Gerrard, you know, at the start of this season, he lost the armband and everything like that. And it did really feel like not just his place in the team, but his place in the club was in doubt. When you make a player feel like they're at home and you make them feel like they're valued, and we say, no, we believe in you, you're the guy, this position is yours. It's really interesting to see what that can do for them. And obviously we've got Diego Carlos coming back. And I mean, look, I don't think we'll see too much of him this season. I really don't know how we go about that, because centre-back's a difficult position in that sense, because you don't rotate them in games. Like if it's a winger or a striker, you can give them 20 minutes at the end of the game, but you don't really want to be chopping and changing your defence midway through a second half. It's not a done thing. So I'm really interested to see how we bring Diego back, but who he comes back in for. And I think we're seeing this interesting trend, as I said, with Ollie and with Tyrone, whereby if you make them feel like they're the guy, if you allow them to tie down a position, you are getting the best out of these guys. Buba, again, was fantastic. But, guys, it's all about this next run of games. I'm really interested by Palace at home. We need to bring that form back to Villa Park next weekend. And if we can get another win there, guys, just to land ourselves in the top half of the table this season would show exactly what an incredible job Unai Emery is doing. He's turned this team into winners, and we are on the road in great form. And look, as I said, I'm not wowed by the football. I'm not wowed by the performances. I think in some games we have gotten a little bit lucky, and I think the XG will tell you that, you know, you could play this game out many more times and perhaps it doesn't land 2-0 to Villa every time. We did have to really, I mean, that Tyrone clearance off the line is evidence that we really did need to ride our luck at points. But that's all that matters, and it's a damning result for Everton. You know, Leeds' win at Southampton yesterday has put them into the relegation zone now, so the Everton sit 18th, and it's really just 2 wins in their last 5 games. It's really not looking good, because that new manager bounce, they had that win over Arsenal, it hasn't lasted. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes for Everton for the rest of the season. What was, I assume, our last ever trip to Goodison, and we've made a lot of good memories there, so it's quite fitting that we've ended that with a win. And yeah, all good vibes here from me on the Villa Phil podcast today, guys. No complaints whatsoever. Only one, Emi Martinez got a book in, and I am worried how close to a suspension he is, but that's a minor concern. If someone knows that, actually, could you drop that in the comments? Because I do feel like he's been booked a fair bit recently, and after the whole Olsen debacle and everything like that. we don't need. We don't need all that happening again. But guys, thank you so much for watching. I do apologize that it's only a little solo pod. We have a really fun run of games now, as I keep saying. So, we got, hopefully Dan and I, we can hop on it a lot together and we can really make this run of games count. We can put some points on the board. You guys can get some great content and everyone's happy. So obviously, if you have enjoyed this podcast, you guys know the drill. Would you make sure you subscribe, leave a like? In terms of the TikTok and the Instagram and everything like that, Dan and I made a link tree. That will be in the description now. So you can just hit that and that can take you to everywhere. No more of like having 10 different links in our bio. So it's like, you've got the TikTok in there, you've got Instagram, the FPL is in there too, as well as a link to our Twitter. If you don't follow Heart of the Holte on Twitter, make sure you go and do that as well. Check out Dan's socials, check out my socials. We're always happy to have a chat about the Villa as well. So I'm sorry this one is a little bit late, guys, but have a great rest of your weekend if you're listening on Sunday. But if you're listening to us in the new week, go and get it, guys. We will be back to preview Saturday's game against Palace. Have a great evening, guys. I'll see you soon. Up the Villa.